We are from a community where there is a long, strong history of agriculture. We started to investigate how agriculture could become a re-emerging part of our community, and we started to look hard at what might become a general agriculture program.
It was essentially a project to put in an educational greenhouse, so a space where kids could learn about agriculture and growing. The program was already happening at the time when we first engaged with the client. However, it was happening within a classroom setting, and it just didn't necessarily make sense for that particular program.
The greenhouse impacts the students because it teaches them hands-on skills. You can do those things, plant health, soil health, in a classroom. You can look at a picture and say, this is a phosphorus deficiency. But when you see a phosphorus deficiency in a group of plants and you add fertilizer and 2 days later, those plants don't have that deficiency, that is clicking for students a lot more with this greenhouse.
The town itself, I feel like, is making a little bit of a shift. There's a lot of people who moved away that are moving back and starting new businesses, small businesses right in town. And so I think that that really feeds into that, farm to table culture and sort of embracing local businesses.
A lot of people want to know where their food comes from, and they want to know how it was grown. So they're buying local. I think a lot of it is food security.
We don't have to look any further than the pandemic, when we were all beginning to suffer from supply chain issues, that it may not be the greatest idea to concentrate our agricultural production in 4 or 6 or 8 large farm processors or meat producers, because there are times when there can be interruptions.
When we developed this program, what we knew we wanted to have happen was that as students were coming through, that they would be launched into a post-secondary or work experience. And with great success, students that have come through this program are on a very high percentage going into a field in agriculture.
And hopefully, they'll have the opportunity to go on to maybe Penn State or someplace and further that education and be able to come home and make a difference.
Agriculture can be a good career. Because we have this facility, I bring in a lot of other guests and experts in the field. So whether that be growers or other farmers, and they get to see that people are doing this out in the field, literally, and they're making a good living wage doing that.
As we got into this program, we knew that it's not going to be an inexpensive endeavor. It would be something that would be costly. So like we would be expected to do, we're going to try to find revenue sources to help support some of what we were looking to do. We were fortunate to be able to have USDA support to help us fund it beyond what we would be able to do locally.
We were able to finance the building of the greenhouse. So it was done through a combination of loan and grant. We were able to provide a $50,000 grant as well as a $342,000 loan to pay for the construction of the facility.
USDA as a program is rigorous. There is a lot of requirements and regulations. JHA was instrumental in helping us coordinate with USDA. Their experience, being able to align the specs of what we were doing with what USDA requirements were at the time, was super instrumental and helpful. As a matter of fact, I don't know if we could have done it without their expertise.
Building a greenhouse that is 2,400 square feet was a little bit intimidating at first.
Everybody knows what a greenhouse is, right? You go to buy your plants there. But that's the piece of agricultural structure. What we were doing had to fit that bill, but it also had to fit all the compliancy requirements of a school, which, regulation-wise, the codes have a lot more requirements for educational institutions than they do a farm structure.
Sierra was calmed like pretty much all of those fears and helped this be a pretty stress-free process, answered a lot of questions. We developed plan after plan and rendition after rendition with the different questions and changes we had, and she was just awesome to work with.
The project itself was not very big. The budget wasn't astronomical. In the scale of the projects that we work on, it was one on the smaller side. However, there were so many stakeholders. We had everything from the borough and their involvement with the grant process, and then their solicitor. We had obviously the school district and the school board, the superintendent, the business manager, making sure we were staying on budget, meeting with the teacher, and then other support personnel that might support her in case she was not there. We had to have conversations with facilities to see how they were going to maintain it and make sure that we were adhering to all of their needs. There was just a lot of people involved.
We couldn't accomplish any of our projects without the assistance of engineers. We all take it for granted. Somehow that happens. The reality is that happens because there are engineers. It was an engineer that thought through that entire process. So very important to the things we do.
We've had a relationship with JHA through different projects, and we've always had great success with them. There's some sense of history in that they're local. Joe Hunt, for example, is a guy that has great familiarity with our area. Aside from the fact that there was a local connection, we felt very strongly that they brought a level of expertise to the projects that we've worked on with them that was second to none. Their attention to detail, knowing that they're always a phone call away.
The context with the greenhouse, that it's like not quite a building project and not quite a civil project. It's a little bit of both. Internally, we've got architectural, we've got environmental, we've got engineering, and we've got survey. So we were really able to provide full services on this project. We're not subcontracting this part, this part, this part. We can respond quicker to a lot of situations because of the diversity that we have in-house.
Beyond that, when we were working with USDA, they were very supportive of what we were attempting here because they did find that the program we were looking to implement was visionary. They wanted to recognize us as a model program. They viewed it as something that they would be able to promote that could be used for other areas where they're trying to develop a program like this.
Our role is to look for opportunities to improve life in rural communities. Education is a key component of that.
I think that they exemplify what a school district should be. Through the whole process, I was just floored by how important it was to keep the students at the forefront of the conversation. Education, learning, how to support them. I mean, there were conversations even outside of this particular project that I just was beyond impressed by. Just to see people who care so much and know so much and invest so much I walked out of there thinking I wish I was in the school district.